What's up, Know Your Books family? We're back again with another review, and this time we're going to be talking about Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday. I'm super excited to actually share it with you guys because last week we had a poll to actually do The Ego is the Enemy or The Subtle Art by Mark Manson, and the majority of the people wanted us to do The Subtle Art, so we did. But a lot of people also were disappointed that we didn't do Ego is the Enemy. So this time, I'm super excited to share with you guys and to actually do Ego is the Enemy and to, of course, fulfill the promise of this review. But before we go any further, I just want to tell you guys, if you're a starting entrepreneur, blogger, vlogger, or you just started in the corporate world, or you're a student of the game, we suggest books and materials that make you better than you already are. So make sure to hit that subscribe button, and if you're an avid Instagrammer, make sure to hit us up at Know Your Books on IG. All links in the description. Now, without further ado, let's get into this knowledge. The introduction of the book talks about Ryan Holiday's early success in his life, how he dropped out of college and basically started pursuing an opportunity to be mentored by Robert Greene. So he basically said that he created the book because he felt like if he had this material or these lessons when he was younger, that probably he would have been able to avoid some of the pitfalls that he had during his journey. He believes no matter who you are, where you're from, where you are in life right now, your worst enemy is already living inside you, and that is your ego. And he basically starts defining the ego as self-centered ambition, or arrogance, as that's the definition that he's going to go with in his entire book. So he basically already sets the ground for what the definition is, so there's no confusion, because obviously in philosophy and also in psychology, ego can be interpreted in many different ways. The book is basically designed to suppress ego early on in your career, to be humble and to be resilient in your failures, and also obviously to be gracious in your success. And it's a great start of the book, so let's go into it and what actually this book is about. The book is divided into three parts: aspire, success, and failure. And I think that's an amazing way because it kind of looks at, I believe, what Ryan Holiday sees as phases of a person's journey in life, and particularly I think his own journey. So Aspire begins talking about how slow growth, focusing on reality, being humble, and of course being resilient is the way to go. Obviously you won't be in the front page, as Ryan says, or extremely famous. Maybe you will be, as the many examples that he gives in his book, but it will ensure long-term success. It then goes into how talking and using your resources into things that are not productive basically drains your energy and could be used for things that are productive. And Ryan basically makes the distinction between to be and to do. To be being pretending, and to do being actually earning your success. And Ryan also urges people to ask the question, what do I want to accomplish, instead of who do I want to be? And continues to talk about always being a student and how learning is a lifelong process and is essential to your growth. He also goes into how passion is overrated, and that passion is for amateurs and purpose and deliberateness is for the pros and people that really want long-term success. There are so many more topics that it actually goes into, like how to serve others, how to take command, and things such as this, and how it can actually affect some of the impacts on your own decision making and on your ego. This part of the book is called Success, and it immediately goes into the rough stuff, which is basically talking about how success can blind us, make us egotistical, and actually impact our decision making in a very negative way. What Ryan does is he continually asks the question, do you want to be ruled? Do you want to rule, or want to be ruled by your ego? And I think this is an amazing question that he proposed and posed to the reader. The way he basically puts forward his argument is saying that of stories like Genghis Khan, who basically had this insatiable hunger for learning and continuing to adapt, and that's why he was able to conquer so many lands. What Ryan actually says is that basically what Genghis Khan did, he lowered his ego, he stayed humble, and realized that he could learn from every single country. It wasn't like he conquered the country and was like, okay, I'm better than these people because I conquered them. He was like, no, I can learn from these people. So he actually invested a lot of time in learning the culture of the people that he conquered. Part of the book is how success basically can take you from your path. I think if you want to know more, obviously you can read about it. Part 3 of the book is called Failure, and it basically talks about what failure means, and no matter who or what is to blame for that failure, you are responsible for actually how you react to it and what you do with that particular failure. It goes into stories of Malcolm X, because a lot of people actually talk about Malcolm X's story only after he got out of prison, but never talked about what happened before and during his prison sentence. Malcolm X is a clear example of what can happen after you have gone through failure. You can either deal with it appropriately and make sure you can learn from it, or you can be broken by it. At this point, but the book is actually, the end of the book is quite interesting and quite surprising, especially because Ryan has such stern views on ego and its impact on decision making and how it can affect obviously your life, career, friends, family, supporters. So I think you should definitely find it out for yourself. And I think one small section of this book, which is almost the end of the book, basically summarizes the entirety of this book. But obviously you need more information to actually find out how you can deal with ego during these phases, and that's why you should read the book. But one small section that Ryan actually showed was this particular section. Not to aspire or seek out of ego, to have success without ego, to push through failure with strength, not ego. And I think that basically summarizes the book, and it's that's what the book is about. So let's get into my opinion on Ryan's work, and of course go through the grading system, our highly sophisticated grading system. Obviously it's very basic, but I think it's still objective, using different modern figures like Malcolm X and also figures of antiquity like Alexander the Great, and basically breaking these journeys or adventures of these people down into 3 phases. And that's what I actually liked about the book, how it was structured, going from aspiration, success, and to failure, breaking it down how ego could manifest in these particular phases in your life. And I think that was an amazing way of structuring the book, and that's also one of the things that I very much love from the book. But I do think that Ryan can be a little bit dramatic at times, especially when he talks about passion and how passion is overrated. And I actually have a small part to read out to you guys, which is on page 48 of this book. How can someone be busy and not accomplish anything? Well, that's the passion paradox. If the definition of insanity is trying the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, then passion is a form of mental retardation, deliberately blunting our most critical cognitive functions. The waste is often appalling in retrospect. The best years of our life burned out like a pair of spinning tires against the asphalt. So this is the type of writing, at least in the beginning of the book, because the rest of the book is not as extreme as what I read out, but that's one of the pieces that I felt like was quite dramatic when he was talking about people who are promoting passion. It's very on point with references throughout the book, but also in the back where you have a bibliography. All right, guys, so let's get into the grading system. I think this is the most is the best part of the review, where I can get into like the real nitty-gritty of the book. I would give the writing an 8 out of 10. And the reason why is because I loved how he structured the book and how he structured his writing into these 3 phases of a journey. I think that was an amazing way of making the book easier to comprehend for the reader. So 8 out of 10 for writing. If I would have to grade the storytelling, I would give the storytelling 10 out of 10, and I believe because he was a pupil or apprentice under Robert Greene, and his storytelling actually reminded me a lot of Robert Greene's storytelling ability. But I know that Ryan Holiday is just an amazing storyteller, and I have a lot of props for that. So 10 out of 10. Practicality, I would probably give it a 7 out of 10. I don't think the book was actually made for you to go through and come out of it and say, okay, I'm gonna do this step by step. As was the subtle art, I believe, even though subtle art was a little bit different in that regard. But I understand where Ryan is trying to come from, and it is, when you come off the book, you're just thinking I should look more objectively to add my decision making. Of course, which aspects of your decision making you should think about is obviously why you should read the book. I think if you come off the book, you kind of understand where he's coming from. So, okay, 7 out of 10 for practicality. If I would have to grade credibility, I would give it an 8 out of 10. The references throughout the book, but also in the back of the book, are amazing. His points are well argued, and because of those references, it actually backs up and makes his points more powerful. I think his points were amazingly well argued, so 8 out of 10 for credibility. So if I would have to grade this book, I would give this book an 8 out of 10. A powerful book with a lot of amazing questions to ponder on, think about ego, its impact on decision making, on our life, career, family, friends, supporters. Ego can either make or break a person. Will you be ruled by ego, or will you rule your own ego? If you're a student, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're rich, if you're broke, if you're unemployed, employed, it doesn't matter. Wherever path you're on, this book will most likely apply to what you're doing right now, and no matter what stage of your life you're in. So make sure to purchase this book. The link is in our description. It's our affiliate link, so if you would purchase that book through our affiliate links, you would support us as well. So it's a win-win. So thank you so much for watching, and if you're here, then you should probably know your books.